Hi everyone. Good evening. Can you guys hear me? Hi, good evening. If you can hear me, just say hi. Okay. Good evening, everybody. I'll just start by apologizing for I wasn't available for yesterday's class. I was under the weather, right? So I really apologize for that. And okay, so let's just get started, right? I'm about to share my screen. So when you can see my screen, you can confirm in the comments that you can actually see my screen. And yeah, okay, okay, I'm sharing my screen right now. I think we can work with this. Okay, so let me confirm if you can see my screen. Okay, all right. So welcome to class, everybody. Um, so my name is Justina Anya, right? I'm your UI UX design tutor, and for today we'll be looking at okay, so last time we discussed okay, I think that was the first class we discussed UI UX design principles, where we also talked about some processes that you can use to create design. And we discussed design thinking process, right? So which empathize is the first stage of the design thinking process. So we're going to be walking through, we're going to be, moving ahead using that process, right? Because we are about to create a user-centered design. So we are using the user design thinking process to be able to achieve this. And that's what that's how our course is going to go. So today's class, we're starting with the first stage of the design thinking process, which is user research, right? Okay. So with that being said, we can proceed. So, what exactly is user research, right? What is user research? Excuse me. So, user research is a process of gaining valuable insights and understanding of users' behaviors, needs, pain points, using observation and feedback methods. So, basically, right, it's just a way of you gaining insight into your users' needs and their pain points. You just want to understand your users so that you can be able to create products that solves their problem, right? So, I think that's out of the way. Okay, let me just confirm that I am still being heard and I'll proceed. Okay. All right. I think you guys can still hear me, so I'll just proceed. Thanks for confirming though. All right. So we've looked at what user research is, right? So now, um, based on this explanation, can someone just tell me in the comments, like, what do you think could be the benefits of understanding your users' needs? Like, I would like to see that in the comments. If you have any idea, no answer is wrong. Just tell me what you like with user research being a way of understanding your users' needs and their pain points, right? Gaining valuable insights into their pain points and their needs. How do you think it will benefit UI UX design, like your product? Let me put it that way. How do you think it will benefit your product? If you have an answer, just drop it in the comments. And yeah, we'll proceed. Okay, so I believe that's the next thing we're actually going to be looking at, right? So why do we even carry out user research in the first place, right? So sorry. So what are the benefits? What do we gain from actually carrying out user research? So the first thing is that we understand our users' needs. With user research, you can actually identify and understand what your user needs are. You can understand what pains are they going through, right? You get to understand your users, right? You just get to understand it. That's basically what this is trying to say. Understanding your user need, you make informed decisions because let's just say you want to design okay, our project for this training would be designing an e-commerce grocery app. So say you are designing an e-commerce grocery app, right? You're designing that, and you're just making assumptions of what your user pain points are. Maybe you're assuming that their pain points could be I don't even know what to say, but just understand that user research helps you gain insight, right, into what your user pain points are, and you being able to design products that are tailored to actually solve that pain point. So validation of assumptions. So even if you made assumptions that okay, this could be the pain points or the challenges of my users, right? When you carry out user research, you're able to understand and even validate that okay, truly, based on the feedback I've received from my user research, this problem is actually true, right? This is really their pain point or their challenge, and you can be able to address it um, using your product, right? So it also provides enhanced user experience, right? By designing products that are tailored to solve users' problems, right? You are creating products that have very good user experience, and users are going to love your products, right? So gaining by gaining deeper understanding of users, designers can create more intuitive, user-friendly interfaces, resulting in an improved overall user experience. So that's basically that for that. So the fifth is reduced development costs, right? So when you actually at the initial stage of the product development, right, you actually carry out this user research to understand your user needs and your user problem, right? You can identify any issues or any issues that could arise, right? Maybe you are thinking of solving a problem and saying that you want to improve one aspect of the product that is not a user's challenge, and you just go ahead and develop it without actually carrying out this user research, you might end up developing a product that is solving your own problem but not solving your user's problem, right? And when it's being developed, you see that a lot of time, a lot of money has been put into development, and without that's because you didn't carry out this user research, right? But if you do it from the beginning, you're able to identify these things and actually create products that actually matter to your users. So you can increase user satisfaction, um, effective communication. User research provides a common ground for communication among cross-functional teams by establishing a shared understanding of who the users are and what they need, right? So you don't even need to argue with anybody, right? And that these are the features that users need to actually solve their problem, because you are backed by data. Once you tell somebody these are the problems that our users are facing and we should improve it, and they're like, no, it is this one. Add one feature like that or like that, just use this feature, and they're like, no, this is it, these are what the users are saying, this is our target users, and this is what they are saying, this is what they are saying, and based on this feedback, this is the feature that is actually supposed to solve their problem, this is how we are going to solve their problem, and these are the processes to solve their problem. Your argument is backed by data, so you can communicate effectively, right? Okay, so identification of opportunities. So carrying out user research can help you identify opportunities that your competitors are not even seeing, right? It can help you identify, understand what is lacking in the market, right? Once you're able to identify what is lacking in the market through user research, you can also build products to solve that problem, right? So that's that for the benefits of user research, right? So I'll confirm if you guys can still see. Excuse me. If you guys can see my screen. Okay. Okay, I can see comments here to give satisfactory results. Good. To solve their respective unique problems, right? To meet their target needs. That's good. Understanding your users' pain points and providing solutions will boost the app usage, which in turn brings profits. That's actually very good. So you guys are really following, and I am happy about that. So I also want to. Okay, someone says you can see my screen. All right, great. So I just want to make sure everybody's following. Okay, so let's proceed. So we have types of user research, right? So there are basically two types of user research. The first one is the quantitative research, right, and the qualitative research. So we'll just go ahead and look at what each of them are, right? So this the quantitative research is the type of research where the results are presented in numbers. It often seeks to answer the question how many, how often, and how much, right? So the quantitative research is basically focused on identifying numbers, right? You can say, okay, what would I use as an example? Excuse me, sorry. So you can say what's the frequency of okay, you can say how many times in a week or in a month do you shop online? Like how often do you use a shopping app, right? Those are questions that are based on numbers, right? So any research question, right, that or yeah, any research question that deals with how many, how often, how much, right? Just understand that is a quantitative research, and the feedback is in numbers, right? It's basically numbers. So just understand that that is a quantitative research. So when you also look at qualitative research, right, it says this is a type of research where results take form of observations, comments, thoughts, feelings, right? It seeks to answer the question what and why. So we can ask the user, um, why okay, you can say what are your challenges when using a certain app, right? What are your challenges when making purchases online, or what are your challenges when using e-commerce application, or yeah, e-commerce mobile applications, right? Okay, we can ask, so any question that answers the question what and why, right? That is a qualitative research. Just know that the quantitative has to do with numbers, the qualitative doesn't have anything to do with numbers, right? It just answers questions, right? It can tell a story. The user can tell you that I was shopping one day, and when I was shopping, I couldn't check out, and something happened. One thing happened, the payment didn't go through. Something, those kind of stories. They're not telling you that. They're not giving you numbers, right? They're not giving you numbers. So any research that tends to answer the question what and why are actually qualitative research. Um, so I have a question for you guys, right? So what approach or what type of user research do you think is best, right, for when conducting a user research? Like what type? Is it the qualitative or the quantitative? Let me get your responses. I'll just take like 2 minutes to actually get your feedback. Just tell me what you think. I just want the class to be engaging, right? So, okay, Lawan Messi says both. All right. Who agrees with that? Okay, Zainab said qualitative, precious, qualitative. Okay. Okay. Oyebola Opeyemi. I hope I pronounced that correctly, but if not, I'm sorry. So Oyebola said quantitative because the user gets to express their feelings. Qualitative. All right. Okay. Yo, thanks for your responses, right? Thanks for engaging. Actually, we have to get the best results in your user research, you have to combine both approaches or both types so that you can be able to get um what English am I going to use now? So you can be able to get accurate results from your research, right? Because you need both you need both type. Like say, let me use the word type of questions because how many, right? How many times or how often do you actually shop online in a week, right? How often do you buy groceries, right? Is it once in a week? Is it twice a week? Is it once in a month, right? Yeah. So then when you're asking a qualitative question, right? Yeah, you're asking the user, what are your challenges, right? What challenges do you face when you actually try to shop online or using grocery stores? Or if you actually faced a challenge, like what was it, right? Do you prefer shopping online to shopping offline? Why do you do that? Why do you prefer shopping online? Or why do you prefer shopping offline? Oh, those kind of questions. So when you combine the two of them together, right, you can get a holistic view of the user's perspective and their use of products. So anytime you are crafting a user research question, just make sure that you incorporate both approaches or types to actually get the best out of your research. Unless for some reason, right, you choose to use based on your research goals, right? Because that could also impact it. Based on your research goals, right? Based on your research goals, right? Qualitative or quantitative could be what you want to use, right? Based on your research goals. But generally, right, you just use both. But like I said, based on your research goals, if um, your target is to actually get responses based on numbers, you can focus on using quantitative. If your research is to if your research is focused on getting responses or feedback based uh, on observations or something, right? You can actually stick with, excuse me, qualitative research. So those are the two things. So let's proceed. Okay, so we have the methods of user research, right? So we have user interviews. This is an in-depth conversation with users to understand their experiences, motivations, and preferences. Open-ended questions are often used to encourage participants to share detailed insights, right? We have surveys and questionnaires, a structured set of questions distributed to a larger audience to gather quantitative data. Well, not only quantitative data. So I think this is an error from my end, right? It's basically for a combination of both data, quantitative and qualitative data, right? So that's actually the correct thing. Survey can help identify trends, patterns, statistical information about user demographic and preferences. So it's basically just I believe we've come across surveys at different points, right? You where you can create a survey, right, using Google Forms. That's one of the tools you can use to create survey. I think there's also type form and so many other ones. So you can just create surveys and actually share with potential or target users, right, to actually get their feedback and use that for your product. So you have usability testing. Users are observed by interacting with a prototype or a working version of a product, right? So this is basically users using your prototype, testing out your prototype, which could be your paper prototype, your wireframe prototype, or your high fidelity prototype. So we'll get into these terms as we progress, right? We'll get into these get to define all this as we progress. I mean, the terms are just used like the high fidelity, which is the design that, like your like say your finished design, right? The one that has colors, it has texts, it has images, it just has every component that you can see in a mobile app, right? So that's basically that. So this type of test is actually this type of research is usually carried out when the product is being developed, or yeah, it's sorry, not being developed, it's being designed. Let me use that word, being designed, because there is the paper wireframe and there is the digital wireframe prototype as well, and then before you get to the hype. So it's when you started actually actively working on designing the product. That's when usability testing actually comes in. But user interviews and surveys lay the foundation, right, of the product design process, right? So we also have this A/B testing. This involves two variations of your product to determine which one they like best, right? So if you've come up with two variations and you're like, "Ah, I I'm not even sure which one to actually, go with, right? Maybe, for example, let me just use a one page for example. Maybe I can't use a one page. Just understand that you've actually designed two products, right? For some reason, and you're not sure which one to go with. You can actually carry out an A/B testing to identify which one resonates more with your users. And maybe the changes you made are basically in layout or something, right? Just a couple of changes, and you want to identify which one resonates more with your users. You can go with A/B testing to actually figure that out. So where is my okay? Okay, so now we understand the basics of user research. Now we understand user research. So we have to, when you fail to plan, you plan to fail. So everything begins with a plan. So we want to go and carry out user research, right? We can't just go out there and start sharing. So we need to plan what we want to do, what we want to achieve with this research, right? So that's where this user research plan comes in. So what is a user research plan? A user research plan is a document that outlines the strategy, details for conducting user research, right? It serves as a roadmap for research activities, providing structured approach to gather valuable insights from users. This is you basically planning out everything about your product. Okay. So sorry, that's it. That's an error. Not planning out everything. It's basically planning out everything about the research you want to carry out. Right. We're going to look into that as we progress in this course today. Right. So we have the elements of a UX research plan. So we have the project background, right? We have research goals, we have the research questions, we have the methodology, we have participants, and we have the scripts, right? So these are the components, these are the elements of a UX research plan. So once you have all these things in your research plan, you can see that you actually have a complete user research plan. So I would actually, okay, okay, maybe after we complete this, right? Once we are finished, once we're done explaining this user research plan, I can go ahead and show us a sample of a user research plan. I'll also share it with us much later, right? Probably in the comments, right, or in the group later. But I'll just show us what a user research plan looks like. So synthesize. Okay, I think there is a okay. I didn't describe this, I didn't explain it in much detail. So I'll just show us the example here so that, because this slide is the last slide for research, user research. So I'll just show us, give me a second, I'll pull up that screen, right? And we can take a look at it together. Okay. Okay, so just let me know if you can see my screen. So I created this template for this course, right? So this is the sample. Okay, let me even see if I'm muted. Confirm that. Okay, I'm not. All right. Okay, so these are all the things we just mentioned, right? The components or the elements of a user research plan. So we have the project background where you describe the project, what is it about, right? So for this sample, I just use an e-commerce app, right, as my example. So when you're carrying out your own assessment or your own assignment or anything, you're going to actually use the project that we're going to be working on, right? This is where you fill in the project background. What is the project about, right? So you have your research goal. So the research goal is basically what are you trying to um, achieve with this research, because you can't just come out and start carrying out research without having a goal in mind. So you need to understand what you're trying to achieve with this goal. So for me, I just said understand user behaviors, needs, and preferences during online shopping. Right. So my second research goal is to identify pain points and challenges users face in current e-commerce landscape. So I just want to understand the challenges they are facing when using e-commerce products and all. Right. So research question. Okay, so these are the questions my research is trying to. These are the questions my research is trying to answer. Even though I have goals, right? There has to be questions that my research is trying to answer. So after carrying out this research, if my research or my the responses or the feedback I got are able to answer this question, I can say that I've carried out a successful research, right? So I can say, how do users typically engage with e-commerce platforms? What are the main factors influencing users' decisions when shopping online? What pain points or challenges do users commonly experience during online shopping? Right. That this last question is assuming I created personas before actually carrying out the research based on my assumptions, assuming I went that route. Right. We'll talk about personas later. So how accurate are the created user personas in representing the target audience, right? Maybe because I created user personas before carrying out my research based on my assumptions, right? I used that to create that. And during my research, I want to understand if I actually created the right personas for this product, or my assumptions were actually wrong and I ended up creating personas that do not actually resonate. They're not actually my target audience, right? So we proceed. We talk about the method of recruiting. How am I actually? Uh, okay, sorry, method and recruiting, right? So my method of research, my research method. So I'm going to be using survey. You know, we talked about a lot. We talked about interviews, we talked about surveys, we talked about user testing, we talked about A/B testing, right? But what I'm choosing to carry out my research for this project is surveys, right? So I want to distribute the surveys online, right? I want to distribute online surveys to a larger audience in focus groups of tech savvy users aged 18 to 45. So those are people that I want to um, excuse me. So those are the people that I want to engage, and yeah, so that's it. Then for for recruiting, right? So who are the people that I'm going to be recruiting for this? Okay, uh, this recruiting, yeah, is basically assuming I included this here so that I can explain something with it. So assuming I want to I'm going the user interview route, right? That's when this side this recruiting can actually um be here, right? Because obviously for recruiting in surveys is basically using, maybe I chose to use focus groups, right? So actually I can get targeted responses, and sharing those my survey within those groups and getting my response. So, but assuming I want to actually recruit um, people for interviews, right? So this is what it's going to look like. I'm going to state how many people do I want to recruit for this interview. So I want to recruit 8 tech savvy people, right? Who use digital products to shop online. I want to recruit people that actually shop online, that actually understand how to shop online, right? So, and their age will be between 18 to 45 years, right? And I want 4 males for inclusivity, right? Um, I want to add 4 males and 4 females, right, to my research group. And then I want to have 2 people with disability, right? If you want, you can have more than two, right? It depends on what you want, but I want to choose 2 people with disability so I can understand how this what are the challenges people with disabilities face when using digital products. I want to understand what problems are they facing so that my products can actually also suit them, right? And actually solve their problem, and they can use my products and be happy, right? Because I want everyone to be Basically, I wouldn't say everyone though. I want targeted users, right? Regardless of their abilities to be able to actually utilize my product. So that's that for that. So we have the survey questions and scripts, right? Then this is where you have your questions and all. So I'm going to share this document with us, and yeah, I'm going to share the document with us much later. And you can just look out for it um, in our community, right? So that you can use it to actually create your own, use as a template to create your own research plan for your capstone projects and also other projects that you'll be working on later on. Um, your personal projects, do anything, right? Basically. So that's that for this side of things. I hope it's well understood. Are you guys following? Someone said it's blur. Yes, please. I'll send you guys the slides. I will. I'll send. I'll send the slides. So just want. Okay, you're following. All right. Great. Thank you. So let's go back to our slides. Okay, so we've looked at user research plan, right? Now we are looking at synthesizing research findings. So, well, after actually carrying out your research findings, maybe you sent out those surveys, you have a whole lot of responses, you've carried out your user. Is this supposed to be the next slide? There's more information I'm supposed to share. Sorry, give me a second. I think something has skipped. I skipped something. Let me confirm that. Okay, I think I'm good. I'm good. Okay, so synthesizing research findings. So how do you actually synthesize research findings? So one of the ways to actually do that is through affinity mapping. So an affinity map is a visual tool used in design thinking and user experience research to organize and categorize large amounts of research data, such as user feedback, ideas, or insights. It helps teams identify patterns, themes, and connections within the data, leading to a deeper understanding of user experience or design challenge. So basically, right, an affinity map is a visual, I would say it's a tool, right, like described here, a visual tool that is used to actually categorize your research findings. Say you have a data of so many people complaining about poor checkout process, right? Difficulty in payment. So a lot of people have made all these comments, right? And you can recognize those patterns. And like 100 people have said they can't pay successfully on e-commerce platforms. Some people are saying that they encounter an edge case. An edge case is something that will make you not to complete your task, right? The task you're trying to accomplish, which is to actually purchase something, and there is no way you can go beyond that point. You've just gotten to the checkout page, and there is no moving forward. They're just there, like the checkout button is not clicking. So you've actually identified that so many people are saying that this is the problem they are encountering, this problem they are encountering. So you just organize your research data, right, in in that manner, like categorizing it, right? With people are saying that checkout process is very bad. You categorize it. All these people have said checkout process is very bad. You put them in one section, give them a title. I'm going to give us an example of that, right? So I'm going to give us an example of that now. So basically, that's what you do. You just find patterns in your research feedback, right, and categorize them, right, based on that. So if there is anyone that doesn't fall into any of those, just put them aside. Just basically that's it. That's how you identify the problem that the users are actually facing. So I'm actually going to share something around that right now and share with us what an affinity map actually looks like, and so we can understand that we're also going to do carry that out in as we progress in the course, right? Basically. So, but I'll just show us what it looks like. So, this is my screen. So, I can see the source where I got this affinity map from. I didn't create this one, right? So, but basically, let me just zoom in so you can see. So, this is sample affinity map for an e-commerce shop, right? You can see that this person said the reasons to shop at the store. Easier to search, you can try clothes, get discount. These are the reasons why this person wants to shop online, right? Oh, sorry, at a store. So this way, that's the reasons to shop online. Mind you, everything is tied around your research goals. I don't know what this person's research goals are, right? But these are responses they've gotten, right? And they're categorizing it. So based on your own research goals and what you're trying to achieve with your research and the questions, because your research goal, the questions you ask your users are also tied to your research goals and your research, basically your research goals. So, and that's what is going to produce the responses you get, right? And you're going to categorize those responses, right, based on patterns, right? So this one says reasons to shop online. Can't try the clothes, right? Reasons not to shop online. Sorry, how to find what I need. So these are research findings. This is what an affinity map just looks like. You have this heading. This is like the pattern. This is like one of your questions or something, right? And these are responses that people are given based on that. So you have this other one. Um, so these are people that say they don't know how to use or they don't use or know shopping apps. They don't even use shopping apps and they don't even know they don't even know them, right? So this one said they don't know shopping apps, don't know how to use shopping apps, don't have a smartphone. So these are people that don't use shopping apps. So you categorize them as one, even though their responses are a bit different, but they are like saying almost the same thing. This one said they don't know any apps. This one said they don't know how to use shopping apps. This one said they don't have a smartphone. So basically, the end goal is that they don't use or know shopping apps, right? Or they don't use shopping apps. That's basically the category they fall in. They fall into people that don't use this. So once you're able to identify this and create this affinity map, you can identify what are your users' challenges, right? So like I said, here is the source. I got this from Hypersense software. That's where I got the affinity map. So I'm just giving them credit, right, for that. So wait, can you guys see my screen? I guess have I been sharing? Wait, I've not been sharing. Oh gosh. Wait, I'll just take that again. I apologize for that. I'll just quickly run through that again. I thought I was sharing my screen. Oh, okay. Um, sorry. Thought I was sharing my screen. All right. So this is what I'm saying. This is what an affinity map looks like, right? This is a sample of an affinity map. So this is what this person these are the responses this person got from their research. So one of the categories, right, is that is reasons to shop at a store, right? People said it's easier to search for clothes. You can try the clothes, feel the fabric, get discounts, love the shopping experience. So this is why they want to shop at a physical store, why they prefer shopping at a physical store, right? So and another pattern or another pattern, like a frequent response person this person that created this affiliate notice is that people also mention reasons why they don't like to shop online, right? So like I said earlier, everything is tied to the questions you actually ask your users, and which is also tied to your goal of the research. So you have reasons not to shop online. That's another thing another frequent thing people were talking about in the feedback. They gave reasons why they don't want to shop online. They said they can't try the clothes. It's hard to find what I need. These are things that people talked about. So we also have another group of people that were saying they don't know how to use any apps. They don't know how to use apps. This person said they don't have a smartphone, right? So this is how you actually categorize your users' responses based on patterns, right? frequency of responses that you are getting. So you just categorize them into this, and you can easily visualize what you are seeing, right? You can easily visualize the responses that you get from um, the research questions you actually asked. So now, what tools can you use to do this? The first one is Miro, which we discussed yesterday, and I mentioned it's for collaboration and brainstorming, right? So you can use Miro because it has a whiteboard, and you can use sticky notes on there, right, to actually achieve this. That's one of the tools. Please, that's not in this slide, right? So you might want to write that down because it's not in this slide. So one of the tools you can use to do, like I mentioned, is Miro. Another one is FigJam, which is within Figma. I actually looked at it yesterday, right? So when we start creating our affinity map, we're actually going to, do all of that. But just know that there are two tools. There are also ones out there, but the ones that I use are Miro or FigJam, which is within Figma. So I think that is understood. Right? If you have any questions, kindly drop in the comments. I'm about to go back to my slides. Okay. Okay, actually my screen again. I think someone is asking a question that they didn't see what I was talking about earlier, but I've actually explained it again. So I believe that is covered, right? Or is it you didn't see my screen the second time? Did you see my screen the second time I was explaining the affinity map? Okay. Okay, Miro, 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 like Miro. Then FigJam, which is within Figma, right? So if you signed up to Figma yesterday during the class, sorry, not yesterday, it was on Monday or Tuesday? On Tuesday, so you would have actually seen that. So let's proceed, please. Okay, that's for synthesizing your research findings. So that's how you actually do that. From there, you can actually start prioritizing what features you want to build in first, right? What feature you want to build into your product first, and you know you can plan out how you want to build your features, right? So we move on to the next, right? So you have your research, UX research and best practices. You have to define your clear objectives because they are your objectives are what guide, or your goals are what guides your entire research, right? So you have to get it right from there. If not, you're actually going to not get the right feedback or the right responses or the right results from your research, right? But even if that happens, you don't need to beat yourself up. Just feel just you can just redo the research, but ensure that you are actually looking at creating the right goals, the right objectives that will actually give you the results that you are looking for, right? Because yeah, but basically what I'm trying to say is if you find out that you've gotten it wrong the first, there is no need to actually be like, "Ah, let me just continue. I've already done it. Let me just continue." No, you just have to go back to the drawing board, figure out where you got it all wrong, and actually make things right, right, and redo your research to ensure that you get the best result out of the whole situation. So understand your audience, right? You have to understand your audience as the best, like second best practice. You have diverse participant recruitment. You have to recruit people from different backgrounds, whether learned, right, non-learned people with disability, people who don't have disability, based on class, based, like, just have diverse users, respond, because a lot of different people are going to be using your product, right? So just have those people. Well, it's still tied to the type of product you are building, anyways, right? Still tied to the type of product you're building, but whatever it is, there has to be, there will always come in a mix, even if you are building a luxury product, right? Let me put that, because that one has a class segmentation. Let me put it that way, or separation, right? We may say you are building a product for a luxury brand, right? Even at that, there are still people who enjoy luxurious deals, right? But they have a certain type of disability, right? So you have to also incorporate those type of users, consider those type of users in your product, even though you are bidding for a luxury brand. So that's basically what I'm trying to say. You have to have diverse participants, recruitment, right? So even if you are designing a product for men's fashion, right? You're thinking that it's only men that will be shopping on that platform. No, some ladies are going to buy for their spouse, right? Many ladies are going to buy things for their spouse using that platform. So you have to include them in in your research process, right? So let me say you're designing a product for baby wear. Is it babies that will come and buy the? It's mothers that will buy the clothes on the platform, right? They occasionally, right, which is rare. Fathers could buy, but it's rare. But basically mothers. So I'm just trying to say, when you are carrying out this research, just understand these things, right? So basically, that's basically what I'm trying to say. So you have your choose appropriate research methods, like we talked about earlier, based on what you want to achieve. Is it user interviews that will give you the best results? You have to think about all that. Is it surveys that will give you the best results? So if you want, when most times when you use surveys, when you want a large number of people to give you responses, right? You just want a large user, um, you want a large amount of data, right? Mostly. But if you want targeted responses where you can monitor your users, monitor their behavior, monitor how they respond, and the response is not biased. There's nobody telling them by the side, why are you even saying that you shopped on like you did not like the experience on I don't know which platform I was. I don't know if I can use any platform, just say any platform that is in your mind. Sha. Why like the response is not biased, right? So you're actually relating with the user face to face, right? So you have to choose the right methods to give you the results you want based on what you want to achieve, right? So pilot testing. Okay, so what exactly is pilot testing? Pilot testing is a type of research that you actually conduct with a small user group, right? Before you actually move into the main user research. It is not compulsory, but you can actually go that route. One, if you want to identify the if you want to validate your personas that if you want to use users to actually define your personas before you actually go ahead to carry out a proper user research. I hope that's understood. I just hope that is understood. So it's kind of like a mini research though. Let me just put it that way. Mini research, right? So you carry out a small user group to actually get some responses before you actually move into the proper user research. So still on the research best practices, right? You have to make informed consent, not make, sorry, informed consent. So you have to actually properly inform your users of what is expected. How are you going to use their data, right? Why are you actually carrying out you have to inform them and tell them the truth about what the situation is, why are you interviewing them, what are you going to do with their data, those kind of things, and also sign an NDA with them so that everybody is secure, right? Or secured, anyone, right? They are guaranteed that you're not going to use the information that they give to you to actually do anything that will hurt them. Because sometimes during user research, users can provide you sensitive information about themselves, right? And they don't know what you want to do with that information. Are you going to blackmail them? But when they sign this NDA with you before carrying out this interview, right? They are sure that you can't do anything with the information there. Like you can't do anything illegal, right? Anything that is not within the NDA with their information that they are giving to you. And if you do, they can sue you and do anything, right? So that's basically it. So just to be on the safer side, you can just sign an NDA so everybody is protected, right? And they can't also go and spread your idea or your product or your business or your anything that any information that you might have somehow provided to them within during the research process. So just have that in mind. You have to build a kind of rapport, right? Let it not be like a I don't want to say job interview. Like everybody's too serious and too formal and all those kind of things. Just have to build a certain kind of rapport. But just don't make it too friendly though, and don't make it too formal, right? Don't be too friendly, don't be too formal so that they don't feel like you are examining them. Yeah, that's the right word. You are examining them, right? So you have to ask open-ended questions, not questions that you have to answer with yes or no. Just ask open-ended questions and let them explain and give you their responses, right? You have to observe their behavior. How are they responding? Are they like when you ask them how was your experience when you used a certain okay, you ask them what's your favorite or what shopping apps do you use most? They mentioned. Then I ask you, what was the worst experience you had with you yourself? You mentioned because maybe that's your top competitor that you want to understand their weak points or how users feel. Then I ask the person, why did you use what experience do you have when you use a certain product? And they're like, it was, those kind of response that can give you a message to understand one thing or the other, right? About how the user feels about the product, or maybe they shake their head and like that kind of thing. So that gives you insight. So record and analyze data. You guys can just this time. So record and analyze the iterative process. It's an iterative process I mentioned. There is not a one-way street, right? You can always go up and come back. Or yeah, just make sure that you set the right objectives for yourself. Share findings collaboratively with your team, basically. Accessibility considerations, these ethical considerations, adhere to ethical standards in user research, respect participants' privacy, ensure confidentiality, and avoid any actions that may harm or exploit participants. So you have to adhere to these things when you are carrying out your user research, and those are like the best practices, right? So we proceed. So now we look at user personas. So what exactly are user personas, right? So user personas are fictional or semi-fictional representation of a target audience. They help design and development teams understand and empathize with their users, making it easier to design products or services that meet users' needs and expectations. So that's basically what user personas is. It's just basically fictional representation of your target users, right? Fictional. Excuse me one second. Let me just take some water. Okay, so as I was saying, user personas are basically fictional representation of your target users. So you might be asking yourself, which is one of the questions I always asked when I was starting out. I'm like, when exactly should you actually create user personas? Right? When should you create user personas? So just like I've always been saying it, design is an iterative process, right? So user personas are usually created at the early stages of your design, process, right? You can create user research before actually, sorry, user personas, that's the word. So you can actually create user personas before actually embarking on your user research, right? You can create them based on your understanding of the product, right? And yeah, you can create them based on your understanding of the product and who you believe the target audience should be, right? You can create your user personas at that time, right? So when you do that, right, you can don't be afraid or don't hesitate to iterate on it. If you actually carry out your user research and you find out that your user personas don't match your product, still go ahead and create a new one, right? So it is an iterative process. Now, another way you can actually, when next you create a user research, maybe you chose not to do it at the end, like the first thing you do, right? So, excuse me. When next can you create a user a user persona. You can actually create a user persona after a pilot research, right, or a pilot test, right? You can actually create have a mini research, like I mentioned earlier, with a small user group, right, to actually identify who your target audience could be, based on maybe you have assumed that okay, this set of users could be my target users. You now say, okay, let me just even validate this thing, and you bring a small user group, maybe between 3 people or so, or 4 or something, right? 2, 3 people or 4 people, and you're like, okay, this is my pilot user testing group. You now test, you now carry out a research with them, and you're like, okay, these are my target users or these are not my target users, right? That's number 2. I mentioned um, two stages which you can create user research. 3, if you don't want to go the pilot route, I don't want to create your user initially before going user research, you can actually create your user research once you try Jesus, not user research, I mean user personas. Sorry about that. That's an error. So you can actually create your user personas after you've actually carried out your user research. You have your data, you've understood your users. You can now say, okay, these are my target users. You now, okay, we'll go into how to create user personas, right? So you can now say, okay, these are my now I understand my users, right? I can now create personas out of these users, right? Okay, let's proceed. So you now have how to create user persona, right? How to create a user persona. So gather the user data. That's basically when you've actually carried out your user research, right? You actually carried out your user research. Um, you can collect the data through user interviews or user surveys. Like I said, either user research or pilot research, right? Where you have with mini groups, right? So you get that data, right? But what you focus on the demographics, the behaviors, their goals, pain points, and motivations. That's where you focus. That's what you focus on, right? These are the key things you have to focus on to be able to create a persona, right? Right. So, are you guys following? Am I too fast? Really, my voice is breaking. Jeez. Oh, okay. Are you guys following? Please, you can type following in the comments so I can know that because someone said my voice is breaking, so I know that you guys can still hear me. Okay, I'm waiting. All right. Okay, thank you very much, Opeyemi and Lawa. Blessing, thank you. Okay, let's proceed. Okay, so when you gather that user feedback, right, you have to identify patterns. So analyze the collected data to identify common patterns and themes, look at recurring characteristics, behavior, and goals amongst users, right? You have to um, look for recurring characteristics, behaviors, right, and goals amongst users. These are the things you have to look out for. Just have to look out for these things because your goal is to create a user or user personas out of the data you have, right? Right. Okay. So you have to define the personal category. So group users into similar characteristics, into distinct categories. These categories will serve as foundation for your personas. So you have to group them into categories. If people that say their pain point is this, their pain point is that, just have to group them. Their behavior, people with similar behavior, and just group them right into categories, right? And you now create personal profiles. For each category, create a detailed personal profile, include demographic information, job roles, behavior, preferences, goals, challenges, and any other relevant details, right? Okay. I don't know if you guys understand this. So you have to create personal profiles, right? Like, say I want to use this avatar. I can call this guy here John, right? I can call him John. I can say John is a, let me say he's a UI UX designer, right? He lives in Lagos. I can say he enjoys even though he's a UI UX designer, he loves fashion, right? He enjoys shopping for um, um, cultural related outfits, as an example, right? Right. I can say his goals are to shop the best quality clothes that are trending. These are examples I'm just giving top of my head, right? So I can say his challenges are that he finds it difficult to navigate um, most of the shopping apps, or it's difficult to find shopping platforms with quality cultural outfits. He finds it difficult to um, yeah, I already said shop on basically shop online using existing platforms, because the checkout process is not user friendly of sorry, checkout process of most apps are not user friendly. He can't find quality outfits. He doesn't know if the clothes he's buying are of good quality or not, because he can't see users feedback about the clothes, right? Maybe that platform does not have user review section so that he can understand how users use the clothes and stuff like that. So he has all these challenges and any other relevant details about him, right? He has all these challenges. So you have to assign a name. Okay, I already called him John though. So his name is John. So assign names and faces, right? I've already assigned a face. Like I say, this is the avatar. His name is John. He's a UI UX designer that does this, that, things like that. I've already described this persona, right? This adds as a human touch and makes the personas more relatable to the team, right? Okay. So that's that for John, right? We can include motivations and goals. It's not we should include motivation. It's part of the user persona, right? It's part of the components of the user persona, right? So include motivations and goals. Clearly define the motivations and goals of each persona. Understand what drives them to use your product or service and what outcomes they are trying to achieve, right? Highlight the pain points and challenges. So identify the pain points and challenges faced by each persona, right? This helps in designing solutions that addresses their specific needs. Consider user context. Factor in the context in which users interact with your products or service. Consider their environment, the types of devices they use, and the specific constraints they may have. If it's someone that is living in a rural area, the person might have connectivity issues. Maybe the network or internet there is very, very unstable, and stuff like that. If that's the situation, you have to make sure that the images or the videos or whatever is on the platform is lightweight so that they can load fast, you know, things like that. There are so many challenges that will occur, right? So those are the things you have to understand while creating your user personas. And luckily, you have data, right, to actually back those claims that you have, because you actually carried out user research. So, add personal touches, include personal anecdotes, quotes, or real stories gathered from user research to humanize the personas and create them more memorable. So something else you can add to your user persona when you create one is quotes that the users like to see. If there is something that John likes to say, right? Well, what's the fashion this thing now that I can talk about? I don't even know. So if there is a fashion quote, or if there is any life quote that John likes to say, once he just stays, he can just make that quote, right? You can include that to add more human touch to your persona you are creating, because you're trying to create a fictional presentation or representation of your target audience. So you have to understand these users as much as possible to be able to relate um, with their, to be able to empathize. Let me use the word empathize with them properly, right? Okay. So you have to create visual presentation, design visual presentation of each persona, including photos, icons, or illustration. Visuals enhance recognition and engagement with the personas. So that's basically it. You have to design that. So we're going to look at a visual presentation of what a persona looks like after we look at components of a user persona though. So we have the name and photo, we have demographic information, right? We have the background, we have your goals and motivations. All these are things that should be contained in a user persona that you've created, right? You have challenges and pain points, you have behaviors, technology and environment, quotes and anecdotes, right? Those are the things to contain there. So basically, we are looking at a sample of a user persona, right? So this is where your image could go. This is your quote or your anecdote. This is the bio describing who John is, or okay, Justina. Yeah. So we're describing who Justina is. We are talking about her interests, talking about her goals, her frustrations, what motivates her personality, frequently used applications, influences. This is the demography, the age, the gender, the status, the education, location, and some personality traits, right? So this is a sample of a user persona, right? Okay, we can proceed. All right. Before I proceed, we're running out of time. I don't know. Let me see if I have any questions. If not, I'll quickly rush this and so we can. Okay. All right. All right. So let's move on. Right. Let's move. So we have empathy mapping. So what exactly is an empathy map? We've been talking about empathizing with users. How do we actually empathize? Okay, yeah. Basically, all the processes we've been going through are the processes involved in empathizing with users, right? But you now have to draw this empathy map to actually, oh, the light is gone. Okay, sorry. You have to actually draw this empathy map to actually empathize, to reflect uh, how your understanding of your understanding of your users. Basically, I'll just put it that way, right? Okay, so let's just look at the definition of an empathy map. An empathy map is a visual tool in design thinking and user experience design to understand and empathize with users. It helps teams gain deeper insights into users' thoughts, feelings, motivations, and experiences by organizing and visualizing quality data and sorry, I don't know why I keep using one of the types of user research. It's not qualitative, basically, right? Well, yeah, qualitative though. Qualitative data. That's actually right. Visualizing qualitative data collected during user research. The map is typically divided into sections that represent different aspects of the user's experience. So, we're going to look at the aspects, right? So we have components of the empathy map. So these are like the things that will be contained in an empathy map. We have what the user says, right? It focuses on the expression and statements of the user. I think it's that the app it was really challenging, right? Checking out from the app, it was really challenging searching for products. It was really challenging finding products on the platform. It's really challenging navigating the application. All these things are things that they say, right? They have things. So the things are the things like what user thinks. Let me just put it that way. What user things are like things that they don't really say, but you can see from their expression, right? You can see from their body language or their behavior, right? It captures the inner thoughts, concerns, or consideration that the user might have. What is going on in their mind as they interact with a product or service? So, as a UI UX designer, right, you have to be observant and pay attention to your users when you're actually carrying out this research, right? It's yeah, you just have to pay attention as much as possible to them, their body language, what they say, and reactions, basically, right. So, how they feel, right? How do they feel when like you have to explore the emotional state of the user. If you ask the patient, right, and the user is explaining it with so much emotion, maybe they requested for a return, right, or a refund. They returned the product on a platform and they didn't get the product was picked up from them and they didn't receive their money for the refund, the return and refund thing on an e-commerce platform. When they are speaking about things like that, they feel really sad. So you can add that to your what do you call it, your empathy map, and say the user feels sad, right? They're sad, right? Well, if they are talking about something and they're like, when you are going through the platform, they could not even figure out where to move from there. You can sense confusion. Maybe they were feeling confused while using the platform. I don't know if you're getting a sense of what I'm saying, right? So that's what that's all about. So what do they do, right? What do they do? So the user, so the side of things is like telling you what the user does, right? What do they do after, maybe how did they solve their problem, right? How did they later solve their problem? What did they do, right? So that's basically that. So let's just proceed so that we all can go and say, okay, basically that's the end of it. So the next thing is the assessment, right? So like I said, I'm going to share this document, right, or the slides, right? And yeah, the assessment will be contained in it, right? Also, we'll also communicate how you get to submit your assessment and all, right? But this is basically it. Um, I'm going to take questions for now. So if you have any questions, just go ahead and drop them in the comments, and I'll take them before we proceed. Sorry, before we end the class. That's what I meant. Yeah, someone says empathizing, putting yourself in the user's shoes to understand how they actually feel. Exactly. That's very good lesson. Thank you very much for that. So any questions? Okay. Right. I'll take it that you guys actually get it, and more. I take it that you guys get it. So we'll just end the class for today. All right. Thanks for showing up. Probably if you have any further questions, you can just slide into my DM. Right. You can just chat me up, or if you are connected with me on LinkedIn, you can chat me up, or you can, you know, I don't know if you have my number on WhatsApp from the group. You can also chat me up and ask me your questions. So for now, good night, everybody. And thanks for showing up for today's class, right? Bye. See you guys tomorrow.